Good evening, everyone. I see you all coming in. Thank you for being here with us tonight. I'm going to give everyone a couple of minutes to get settled and to arrive. So if you hear my voice, if you see me, hello, it's nice to see you all. We'll get started at about 7:03. So we're just going to give folks a couple minutes. But I do want to say welcome and welcome everybody as they come in. So I want to say welcome Allison, welcome Charles, welcome Dana, welcome Jennifer, welcome Joy, welcome Louise, welcome Rita, welcome Thomas. Thank you for being here with us tonight. And like I said, we will be getting started in just a moment. Welcome, Belinda. So nice to see familiar names from week to week. I still see that folks are coming in. Welcome, Paul. Welcome, Carmela. Welcome, Charles. All right, I see us all filling in. All right, well, it is 3 minutes past the hour, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let me share my screen with you all. Go. All right, so like I said, I do want to welcome and thank you all for joining us tonight for our May Day Virtual Community Forum Biomass series. We have been and we will continue to gather in this space on most Thursday nights in May and June. We have a fantastic lineup of climate activists and community members who are eager to share their personal stories with you about how biomass has impacted their lives. I will drop a link in the chat where you can see our full series of events and register for future events if you haven't already. If you learned something new today, if you feel moved today, I invite you to please share our recording and event opportunities with others. We are recording this session and we plan to share the recording with all registrants. We will make space for a question and answer session at the end. The Q&A is open. If you have any questions for our hosts or panelists, please drop them in the Q&A and I will do my best to answer pressing questions in real time and hold some questions for the Q&A session. The chat is visible only to participants and panelists for security reasons, but feel free to message us in the chat if you want to connect that way. Let us know where you're from or anything else that you'd like to share. I'll be one of your hosts. My name is Adele Alamo. I'm the digital organizer for Dogwood Alliance. My pronouns are she, hers, ella y suya. And Dogwood Alliance is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. For over 25 years, Dogwood Alliance has fought threats to our forests and frontline communities. We promote forest protection as the best solution to climate change and we partner with communities across the southern US to develop economic solutions that work with and for our forests. Our mission is to advance environmental justice and climate action by mobilizing diverse voices to protect southern forests and communities from industrial logging. We work in 14 states across the Southeast, and our headquarters are in Asheville, North Carolina. I did want to give a quick word to explain what is biomass. So biomass is sometimes called bioenergy, wood pellets, woody biomass, and more. But it's basically when you use living materials such as trees and burn them as an energy source. On an industrial scale, biomass companies cut down our standing natural forests, transport the logs to plants where they are converted into wood pellets, and then they are shipped overseas to places like Europe or Asia, and then they are burned in energy plants as an alternative to coal. Some claim that this is a clean, renewable energy source because trees grow back. But biomass is not clean or green, and it actually releases more carbon into the atmosphere than coal does. Biomass plants are routinely located in the US South, specifically in under-resourced, predominantly Black and Indigenous communities. In fact, biomass plants are twice as likely to be located in environmental justice communities. Biomass plants run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Local residents never get a break from the constant noise, dust, or pollution. People living next to pellet plants often have lower life expectancy and poorer health. For all of those reasons and more, biomass is an environmental justice issue. But I don't want to focus too much on the science because I want to get to the heart of the issue, and that's the people impacted by this dirty industry. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to our Director of Organizing and Partnership Engagement, Erniko Brown. Erniko is the Soil and Water Commissioner of Greenwood, South Carolina. She is the Environmental and Climate Justice Chair for the South Carolina NAACP State Conference. And she is the Executive Director and founder for her own nonprofit called OURS. It's Organized Uplifting Resources and Strategy. So without further ado, Erniko, please take it away.
Thank you, Adele, and welcome to everyone who has decided to join us this week for this conversation. It is indeed an honor to have you all here with us this evening. We have a very dynamic panel, and I am excited to be joining most of them because I'm out in Mississippi with them, and I've seen them in some capacity this week. And so we're still here in Mississippi, and today's conversation covers impacted communities with proposed plants. So last week we talked to you guys about Gloucester, Mississippi, where there is an actual plant. But this week we are still in Mississippi, and we're talking with Stone County and Adel, Georgia, about proposed plants coming to their communities. Today we have with us the NAACP State Conference Chair for Mississippi, Reverend Robert James. We have Reverend, Anton McBride, and we have Miss Ruth Story, all from Mississippi. And then we have a state over from Adel, Georgia, Dr. Treva Gear. And so these two communities share a similarity in that there are proposed facilities that are coming to their communities. So tonight we're going to screen one of the pieces that we've done, the CNN piece, I believe. After that, everybody will have an opportunity to discuss biomass from their perspective and how it's relatable to their communities. And then we'll open it up for a Q&A session on this evening. So thank you all for joining us, and we will get to the screening. Adele.
All right, just give me one moment.
When anybody thinks of clean, green energy, this is not it. So at the very local level, you've got pollution, then span out a little bit and you've got large-scale clear cutting. And then at the global level, you've got an industry that is burning these trees to generate electricity, making climate change worse. So yes, this is impacting all of us with disproportionate impacts to the people who live right next to the mill.
There was a truck right there. There was another truck. That's what we heard all day and all night. This is a little small town, rural area, poor area. But ever since this plant been here, everybody's whole lives have changed. And the plant is right behind my house, right in my back door.
Enviva is the world's largest producer of biomass. At its plant in Northampton, North Carolina, trees are processed into wood pellets and then shipped overseas. Once in Europe, the pellets are then burned as clean energy to generate electricity in power plants. And after the European Union classified biomass as a renewable energy source, the American South emerged as Europe's primary source of biomass.
For some reason, the southeastern U.S. has been forgotten. It's almost like people living in these rural communities don't matter. This is a sacrifice zone. These wood pellets aren't even producing electricity here. We've seen a pattern of the wood pellet industry targeting low-income communities of color. Before the wood pellet industry even came in here, this rural community was struggling. Even though in this county, the majority of the population is black, 99% of the land in the rural South is owned by white people. So there is a very long history of perpetuating economic inequity.
When you look at our communities and you see communities of color, and this is where it is, that we have these factories here that's polluting our air. They're cutting down all of our trees. We need these trees. No wonder we're dying. And then we don't have that opportunity or that privilege to get up and move when some comes and invade our territory. And then how many people want to move? Why should we when we've been here all our lives and we've worked hard to accumulate what we have? And then you come and sit and right dab in the middle of our community and think that we're supposed to be happy about it? Hell no.
Enviva says they choose facility locations based on access to wood, infrastructure, and labor.
So this forest that we're looking at right here is about 100 years old, and within a week it was gone, clear cut, turned into wood pellets. We know this went to Enviva because we followed the logging trucks with the cypress trees back to the Enviva plant.
Enviva says they received about 25% of the trees from this tract.
Once this wood is cut, they're being processed in these mills that are emitting massive amounts of pollution that are known to be hazardous to human health. The wood dust is fine particulate matter. When you breathe it in on a regular basis, it causes heart problems, it causes respiratory problems. It can lead to cancer.
Enviva says the air quality levels found near the Northampton facility are within the federal limits and do not present a public health risk.
Yeah, you can see it on the top of the hood. Look at this one. Everything that's in the yard getting dust on it. I'm dealing with health issues with heart problems, congestive heart failure. And on top of that, I'm dealing with pressure on my lungs and don't know where it keep coming from. I had to wear a mask every day coming out here and this stuff, way before the COVID. I mean, sometimes my nose be bleeding and dust and stuff. It messes with my wife and my son asthma all the time. They don't even sit outside. It makes me angry because I don't know what I'm inhaling.
When you go over to the wood pellet mill, you see the pollution coming out of the smokestack. That is not clean, that is not green. When it goes over to Europe and it's burned in a power station, it's emitting even more pollution, emitting more carbon than would have been coming out of the smokestacks if they had been burning coal. This is like a needle in a haystack in the southeastern U.S. This is an ancient cypress forest. There's very little of this left. It's just this incredible jewel of an ecosystem that very few people really understand exists here. I mean, this is a really special place. We're looking at trees around us that are over 1,000 years old. And while the forestry industry and the wood pellet industry says that trees are renewable, we aren't renewing 1,000-year-old ecosystems. You know, they're renewing forests for commercial production. North Carolina alone, the wood pellet industry is responsible for clearing 164 acres of forest a day, 60,000 acres a year.
By us being in a poor area, what can we do with a company like that with money and we don't got money to fight against it? And it seems like we don't got no one fighting for us. I don't know what it's gonna take, but something needs to be done about it.
Enviva declined to be interviewed on camera for this story, but provided written statements to CNN.
Thank you for screening that for us, Adele. And I would like to say that our executive director, Dana, is on with us. I'm not sure if she wants to share her perspective on it. And we also have Ms. Belinda Joyner on. If either one of you two ladies want to say something about that particular piece, feel free to do so.
Here, let me unmute them 1 second. Oh, Dana says we need to hear more from the panelists. Let me find Belinda. There's Miss Belinda. Miss Belinda, if you'd like to unmute yourself, you can.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Good evening to everybody. As you can see what we're dealing with here in Northampton County, and you all are going basically through the same thing. I just want you to know that you have my full support. If there's anything that I can say or do to help your situation, then I am here. I would be more than glad. We had an advisory board meeting today, which I thought was awesome because the EJ advisory board to DEQ, which give our permits out. They were really on the hot seat today, and I had to commend our advisory board for speaking out about our impacted communities and stopping the things that they are doing in these communities. So my hat's off to you all. I wish you the best. Stay strong. It's not an overnight fix. So, we have to sometimes keep fighting when we don't feel like it. Be blessed.
Thank you, Ms. Belinda.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Belinda. And so we wanted to make the connection with what's going on in North Carolina to these communities, because this is what's going to be happening in your community. This is why we're doing on the ground organizing and coming to communities to inform the people so that people can make an informed decision about how they choose to live their lives in their own communities. As we've seen, there are a lot of health issues associated with this biomass production, and it takes away your livelihood and your way of living, and essentially you're a prisoner to your own community. And so what we are doing is having real conversation with real people who are dealing with these real issues. And so on my journey here to Mississippi, these are some of the people that I've been involved with who have been a beacon for their community, standing out and standing up to this industry. And so the first person that I would like to speak would be our NAACP president, Mr. Reverend James, I'm sorry. So if you would just speak to your experience, what you know thus far, and how your community has been impacted.
Thank you, Ms. Brown, for all that you do. I really appreciate you highlighting this back in June. And it was back in June that we actually started speaking out as you revealed this possibility of location for Enviva in Stone County when I went before the Board of Supervisors to lay out the history, their track record of pollution, and how they have been in violation of all the things and how it's harmful to all of our citizens here in Stone County. I am the state president, but I'm also the branch president of Stone County. I live about a half a mile from the proposed site of this plant. It's going to have a negative impact on our lives, not only on my life, but on the life of all of our citizens here in Stone County. So as a ground root thing that we have done, we have, with your help, we have actually rallied the people in our county. We have met with the board. We have met with the mayors and all that. And Viva is one of those companies that does not have a relationship with the people in the community. Case in point, they had a first town hall meeting back in April, and it should have been open where the community could give inputs on the negative impact that it would have on the life of the citizen. But rather, they shut that down and more of just a meet and greet, and didn't allow anybody to say anything public, and would not address any of our concerns as the citizen of here Stone County. So we're going to continue to do what we need to do to make sure that I'm not affected and my community are not affected. It is a company here in Stone County looking for tax incentive from our county. They don't want to build their own, to get their own water. And I'm serving on a board to make sure that my board is in agreement that if they're going to get it, they need to get it another way and not through this rural water supply that I serve on, whether we raise our rates and pay a higher rates, but then suffer long-term effect from the pollution of this company that's coming here into Stone County.
Thank you, Reverend James. Dr. Treva Gear. Well, before you go, Dr. Treva, I would like for Reverend Anton to go while we are in Mississippi.
Well, certainly good evening to all those that are here. We certainly thank God for your presence. Dr. Gear does not realize it, but Sister Brown, I grew up 57 miles southwest of Adel, there in Cook County, a little town called Cairo, Georgia, in Grady County, Georgia. And the reason why I have joined this fight, I was there at that meeting along with Dr. James and some others, because it does affect me personally on so many levels. Yes, I am a pastor, and of course I do have a love for people. I have a love for this community that I'm privileged to serve in. But what many of you probably didn't know was there for the longest time, south of Jackson, I was instrumental in teaching, training, and getting a lot of HVAC technicians licensed and certified. And so I'm familiar with the EPA standards. And back in 1987, there was what was called the Montreal Protocol. And I'm gonna tie all of this into Enviva in about a half minute, I promise you. There was a Montreal Protocol. Basically, we wanted to reduce the amount of chlorofluorocarbons in the atmosphere because we're worried about the ozone, which is our protective layer against the sun. Well, if the ozone layer disappears, global warming persists, deforestation persists. We have this combination now of all of the carbon in the atmosphere, which is creating greenhouse gases. The long and the short of it is, Enviva is a scientific debacle. One chlorine atom, take you all back to chemistry class. One chlorine atom can destroy 100,000 ozone molecules. For some of you that are over the age of 45 and 50, back during the 70s and the 80s, when you had the ladies that would spray their hair with a hairspray and it made it stiff as a board. We got rid of those chlorofluorocarbons. because of the chlorine in them and the carbon emissions. So for this fight, it's important to me. I have a lot of members and as well as other people in the community that have health issues. I have a wife that has asthma. I have a history of bronchitis myself, a lot of breathing problems. It's not if this is going to be a problem, it's just how big of a problem will it be for those that are affected by it. And we're going to do everything that we can to stop this plant from coming, because what it's going to do, yes, it may simply bring jobs into Stone County, but I promise you, just like it would if, give you an example, and I promise you I'm done. If a refrigeration and air conditioning company hires a technician, a mechanic, whether it be an installer or service guy, and they go to a home or business, Ms. Brown, to change out a compressor, change out a condensing unit, anytime where they have to remove the refrigerant, the Freon from the system, if they cut that line open to the atmosphere, not only can they be fined, not only can they lose their license, not only can they go to jail, but the company and the person can be fined $32,500 rather, excuse me, per day per occurrence. Let's put this into numbers. If you have a medium-sized apartment complex that has 100 units, multiply 32.5 times 100. There are companies that will pay the fines. Companies that will pay the fines just because of the profit, and they don't care about the people that may lose their livelihood. This is what I see with Enviva, is because as we cut down the trees, we are increasing our carbon footprint, and we are making the earth a blanket because we have too much carbon in the atmosphere. It's going to become too warm. So they're hedging their bets that the trees will grow. Well, the trees won't grow because the atmosphere is too warm. So I'm in this hook, line, and sinker, and I'm here to do whatever I can to stop Enviva. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reverend McBride. We're going to pass it to Dr. Treva, and then Ms. Ruth, you're going to round us out.
Hello, I'm happy to be with you all. I'm glad that you're having this tonight. This is awesome. I'm Dr. Treva Gear from down in Adel, Georgia. That's deep South Georgia, probably about an hour north of the Florida line. However, we've been fighting for the past 2 years, it'll be 2 years, starting in June, that we've been fighting the biomass industry trying to come to our community. And the thing about it is that we didn't know, no one knew, the community didn't know. We just happened to have a member. We were having a group of concerned citizens, that was before we were the concerned citizens, just to talk about the issues in our community. We realized we had a lot of environmental issues. But one thing was, someone said, hey, we have a wood pellet plant coming. And we went, what? That's not a good thing. The thing, we'll have jobs. And they said they had asked questions about whether it was going to be loud, if it was going to run 24/7. And we found out that, you know, they were told, no, it wouldn't, none of these things would happen. And so after doing some research and reaching out to environmental partners that brought us to Dogwood Alliance, we found that there were multiple things, because I knew something was not right. So that was June 2020 with one wood pellet plant proposed. We began to fight that situation. To give you a little background on Adel, Georgia, it is an environmental justice community, like many of the communities that are targeted by these wood pellet plants. We have a predominant community of color. We have a high level of poverty at about 23.1%. And people need jobs. But as we've said, we want jobs that build and not those that will kill us. Adel does not even have an emergency room. So begins the fight. We began to actually, with the guidance of Dogwood, Vicki Weeks, and many others, we started to actually reach out to our city council members, because they were going to annex an area into the county, into the city, and then zone it for heavy industry, that's like 171 acres. That was like 1.3 miles from the nearest resident, but would impact so many. And this plant would be the city of Adel, and the most compromised community would be downwind from this plant. So we began to fight. We come in at every level, attend the city council meetings, spread the news to the citizens, also commenting on the air permit, on the draft permit. And that plant was supposed to set ground here in 2022, but there's been delay. Well, no, 2021. And so they have not yet been constructed, and the fight continues. Their air permit was granted to them in January 2021. And yet, as I heard from other individuals, they have not yet to come here and actually tell the people what they were going to do. Our city council members in the Adel Industrial Authority, they have not been able to tell us what the true benefit of this plant is to us, despite us sharing with them all the pollution, all the health issues, the health impact that would happen here, because we're already overburdened with pollution. So here we are, fast forward 2022, and there's been a second wood pellet plant proposed for Adel. It would be the largest in the world, Spectrum Energy. And they have an air permit that's waiting to be approved, but hopefully not approved at this time. And we fought it from the point of actually letting people know, because again, no one knew that it was coming. We actually permitted coming in on that air permit. We've actually reached out to the EPA. We reached out at the federal level to our state senators, Senator Ossoff and Senator Warnock, with the help of Dogwood. So we've done everything we could do, reaching out to the EPA and still reaching out. So that's where we are in our fight. And the thing about, I have to say this, is that I'm glad to see everybody on, because we can't fight this fight in isolation. It takes everybody. It takes each and every one of us to share information, because I'll tell you this, we would not have known anything had we not had a group to reach out to, or reach out to us, an environmental group to share with us how to start this fight. And many communities don't know until it's there. So as I said, thank you for this opportunity. We're continuing to fight. If you have not seen our documentary, Abandon, Greed, Neglect, and Environmental Injustice in Adel, it talks about the multiple types of pollution, including this wood pellet plant that's the two that are trying to come, that we're going to stop. And so the fight continues, and I'm glad to be fighting with all of you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Treva. And next we have up Miss Ruth Story. Miss Ruth is one you want to be in the fight with. She works diligently. I absolutely love her. And everything she does it from the heart. When I'm not here in Mississippi, this is the backbone to everything that we are doing. She calls me, hey, baby. And she makes sure that we have everything that we need as soon as I get here. So I'm more than grateful to share this space with her on this afternoon. And without further ado, Miss Ruth Story. You muted.
Okay. Good evening. I'm so happy to be with this group of people tonight, because you are really fighters, and I am thankful that I'm able to be a part of something like this. Even though I am in Gulfport, Mississippi, and the plant is proposed for Bond, Mississippi, which is about 30 minutes, 35, 40 minutes away from me, I know that whatever is happening in Bond in the air is going to come down to Gulfport. So it's not that it's just going to stay in Bond. It's going to come to me, and I don't want it. And I have been to Gloucester to see the plant there, and it was just heartbreaking. It's located, there's a trailer park located right there, and all this smoke and fumes are coming down on these people constantly, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I can just see that happening in Bond unless we can continue to fight. But like so many other cities in the South that are poor and have these kind of governors like we have, Tate Reeves, who only sees whatever money that's going to come to his state with no thought of what's going to happen to the people of Mississippi. It's always a constant battle because nobody's interested, because it's not happening in their neighborhood. If it's happening in their neighborhood, it wouldn't be coming. But it's happening in Black neighborhoods, low-income neighborhoods that nobody cares about. And so anytime Enrica lets me know I need to be on my toes and getting something done, I'm on my way to Bond. I'm connected with Pastor McBride. I'm connected with Pastor James. There's another little church that I've been to, another little Baptist church, and I can't remember the name of it, but I keep going because I need to tell people what's coming, what they need to be prepared for, what they need to begin starting to fight, because nobody cares about us. You know, as you look and see a governor whose whole thing the other day in the news was that Enviva was going to give Mississippi's what, $400 or $500 million. That's the goal. Whereas Enviva's probably making $400 or $500 a day, $400 or $500 million a week, but he's talking about a one-time deal of $400 or $500 million that Enviva's going to get. But and for Mississippi, that's even worse because we don't have expanded Medicaid. So a huge number of our people can't even go to the doctor, and certainly can't go to the hospital because our governor refused to take expanded Medicaid because Obama was the president and gave it. So just, you know, Mississippi for who we are, a racist state, a state that does not care about its people. The poorest have to try to survive any way they can. And so Enviva is coming as far as he's concerned, but we have to keep fighting because we're the ones that'll be dying, not them. They'll be, you know, enjoying life because it won't come in their neighborhoods. And we need our trees. We do not need them to cut down our forests. If that was such a good idea, why don't they cut them down over in England? And wherever they're the ones that get in the wood pellets. If that's such a good idea, why should we cut our forests down to take care of England or any of those countries across the water? So the pellets don't stay here and we use them. Oh no, they're shipped out. They're shipped to other countries because they don't want to cut their forests down. They want to keep breathing. They want to keep living good. So, and it's all right in the South if you cut down our trees. We don't matter. At least that's what it seems to me. But when I went to Gloucester and I saw people that were so sick, and then I thought about our Department of Environmental Quality supposedly fined Enviva for messing up the environment. And Enviva makes about maybe $3, $4, $5, $10 million a day or whatever. They fined them for 5 years. The fine was less than $3 million. So what does Enviva have to lose? We have a lot to lose. Enviva doesn't have a thing to lose. They're making money hand over fist. Our governor doesn't care about us or any of the other Southern governors evidently, because all the plants are in the South. It doesn't matter. We're expendable people. But we have to learn to fight no matter what. And I'm going to keep going to Bond. I'm going to keep going to churches. I'm going to keep on talking to people to let them know, hey, we got to fight. We may not, I'm an optimistic person. People think maybe you can't win this battle, but we can bring a whole lot of attention to the world as to what kind of mess we're in. And maybe, just maybe, some of us can just continue to fight, even though no matter what happens in the end, we cannot afford to stop. We have to let them know, we're not just going to let you walk over us. You may do it, but you're going to have a heck of a time doing it. And I'm going to keep on working with Pastor James and Pastor McBride and any other pastors up there in their churches that open up their doors so that we can explain to people what's happening so that they can be prepared or at least try to fight this battle. That's me.
Woo, that's why I love Miss Ruth.
And I want to tell Pastor McBride something. I'm not a scientist and I don't know all that, but I certainly did learn a lot tonight from you. So keep on working.
Listen, you heard it here, guys, tonight. The reasons why we're in this fight, you heard from several different states. I hail in South Carolina. We have 3 people on from Mississippi. We have Dr. Treva from Adel, Georgia, and Miss Belinda came in from North Carolina. This is why we do this. This is why we're in this fight, because these people look like us who are bearing the brunt of this issue. This is why we do exactly what we do day in and day out, because we believe in us. We believe in the love that we share. We believe in the DNA that we share, and we need to stand up for our people.
Amen.
Because of Dogwood, we are utilizing the platform in servitude to so many communities across the Southeast. And in my position here at Dogwood, this is exactly what we're going to continue to do. We're going to continue to have these conversations. We're going to continue to educate. We're going to continue to fight. We're going to continue to tell people, because they need to know. How can we fight something that we don't know anything about? And this is why we're here. And we're going to continue to be here on Thursday nights, because this conversation needs to continue. This fight continues. And none of us are free until all of us are free. And this is why we're working to do what we do each and every day. And Adele, if we got some questions, take it away.
We have a technical question. So I'm gonna, it looks like Ms. Belinda has something to say. So I'm gonna jump in and let Ms. Belinda, before we start taking questions, let me just unmute Ms. Belinda really quick one more time. Ms. Belinda, the floor is yours.
This is awesome. Ms. Ruth, Reverend McBride, let me tell y'all something. Y'all got it going on. Reverend James and Treva, you got the knowledge and the wisdom right there. This is awesome. I have truly enjoyed, and the scientists over here, the preacher teacher, keep teaching and keep preaching, because y'all got the tools right there. Y'all have been blessed. You got 2 preachers, and Miss Ruth and Adele and Miss. Yeah, I'm telling you, I almost want to come to Mississippi down there myself, but that's a long way. Stop her, nigga. Stop. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm excited for you all, and I know the victory is already there. You know, victory is already there. So it's just awesome. I love a group like this. I like to be with you, but y'all a little too far away from me. But I'm gonna stop right there. This is awesome, Ernika.
Miss Belinda, you're gonna have to catch that flight and come back. We'll be back soon, so you got to come on back with me, because everybody waved you in. So come on to the house.
We'll talk about it. Good night.
All right, give me one moment. All right. So let's see. So there was a question about what are the particulate levels allowed by the EPA, by the State Environmental Control Agency?
Let me address that by saying this. That's an excellent question, but the truth of the matter is, and I don't want to go off on a political rant, but our EPA, our federal EPA, and more importantly, the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality, MDEQ, our federal EPA is a sham. Now, let me explain what I mean by sham. 1987, Montreal Protocol was passed. 1992, the Clean Air Act was passed July 1st. It was enacted. But there are allowances within the double talk. Here is the language of the EPA. And to answer directly to their question, I can't tell you the particulars about the particulate makeup, but I can equate it by giving you something I do know to show you that's really a losing battle, because we've been fighting this battle with the EPA. The EPA set forth, and it is law that says you cannot knowingly vent refrigerant, that is Freon, into the atmosphere. If you do, it's a fine, it's a violation. Also, if you, just so anybody watching, if you see someone doing it and you videotape it, there is a $10,000 reward. There's a $10,000 bounty on them. But here is the language of the law that's misleading, Ms. Adele. It's illegal for me to do that, but the EPA says if I'm working on a type 1 piece of equipment, which means it's got 5 pounds, 80 ounces of Freon in it or less. That could be anything from a dorm refrigerator to a household refrigerator, freezer, chest freezer, to your water fountains, that I can knowingly vent it. The law says I can't release it into the atmosphere, but the law says if it has 80 ounces or less, I can still release it. Well, it gets better. It gets better. Not only am I being hypocritical in how I set up a standard that says type 1 is 5 pounds, 80 ounces or less, that I don't have to recover. I can normally vent it into the atmosphere. When I get to type 2, when I get to type 3 equipment, the EPA only requires me to make a repair on a leak. This is going to bless you homeowners. Only make a repair on a leak on a piece of equipment when the annual leak percentage rate exceeds 35% of the charge. Now, what does that mean? It simply means that if I've got a piece of equipment that has 100 pounds of refrigerant, if my annual percentage rate exceeds 35% of that, if I've leaked out over the course of a year of 35 pounds of gas, by law, I am required to fix the leak. Well, here's the double talk in it. The EPA is a sham because it's trying to help out the environment, but at the same light, it's setting forth the groundwork and the foundation for business owners to make money. It may not be ethically right, it may not be morally right, but it's legally right. Environmentally, it's dead wrong. It is a proven fact what chlorine and excessive carbon does to our environment. If you cannot breathe, and what a lot of people don't realize, there is a byproduct, and I'm gonna hush after I say this. There's a byproduct that comes from glowing hot metal heating, i.e. Freon. It's called phosgene gas. Now, don't you laugh at me, Dr. James. I hadn't always been saved. And when I was younger, I loved left-hand cigarettes. It's called marijuana, blunts. And those of you that can be honest with yourself, if you remember the first time you ever smoked marijuana, and it was good marijuana, the feeling that you had when you could not breathe as much as you tried to. Phosgene gas comes as a byproduct of this. It will literally knock you out in about 10 to 15 seconds. It displaces the air. All of this happens because our EPA sets a standard here that says you have to meet this standard. And once you exceed that standard, then we're going to tighten down on you. I have records going all the way back to 2005. I have them on a flash drive of every job and every ounce of refrigerant that I have put in a unit or sold, because I understand I don't have the financial resources to fight, quote unquote, government. To answer that question, I would have to look and see what the EPA standard is for the particular matter, parts per million, whatever that is. But I'm telling you, it is a foundational sham. It is a foundational sham because it's basically saying how much is enough. Well, I'm 6'4", 280 pounds. I could probably eat and drink more than you, Ms. Adele. You're not 6'4", 280 pounds. You're not a man. I could probably do things as a man that you couldn't. So there is, we make these false equivalencies. Ms. Ruth was talking about Mississippi. Mississippi, and Dr. James can tell you, we are on the top of every bad list, the bottom of every good list. In the last 22 years, we have not fully funded public education for 2 consecutive years. As a matter of fact, the last 22 years, we've only fully funded education twice. Our teachers are overworked and underpaid. We have the highest grocery tax in the nation. We have the lowest tobacco tax in the nation. We don't do anything that promotes healthy living. And now what we have is our MDEQ, who knows that there are pollutants in the air. They know what the plant at Gloucester is doing, but they're saying that we'll accept some of the contamination, but we'll just fine you when it gets to a certain level. And more people need to stand up and start questioning exactly how much, what any of it. Part of a lie is a whole lie. And we have been lied to far too long as it relates to our environment. Thank you.
I'm going to be very brief about the particulate matter. Of course, I don't really know the numbers, but I'll talk about 3 things. The air permit. First of all, lots of these new wood pellet plants, like the first one coming to Adel, they get a permit based on what they call a synthetic minor. So it seems as if it's a small operation, and then they're later going to permit them after they're in full operation, but they already have a permit. Second, they don't look at the cumulative impact that's already in the environment. So what? You're gonna put formaldehyde into the air, you're gonna put volatile organic compounds and sulfur dioxide into the community that's gonna cause a health impact. But there's also multiple industries down the street in that same community that's also doing the same thing. So there's no consideration for cumulative impact on the people, which is also extra detrimental. And then third, the wood pellet industry is like a kleptomaniac. You know, they steal, they're gonna steal. If you deal with a thief, they're gonna steal. And so what happens once they're in the community, people have to watch them. Like, who's watching? Because people are struggling in these communities to know that, oh, they're over polluting over here. They've exceeded their limits because nobody even knows that there's an air permit. So those are 2 things. Those are the 3 things that I want to discuss that's why it's hard to watch them. They're gonna do it.
Yeah, and I'll jump in to say that I don't know what the limit is, but I know that there is no safe evidence of a safe level of exposure for PM2.5. PM2.5 is such a small particulate matter that as soon as you breathe it, goes into your lungs, it can go directly into your bloodstream. So there is no safe limit. So it doesn't really even matter what the state permits. And as our executive director put it in the chat, air permits are a license to pollute. And so I will ask the question, if you had the ear of Governor Reeves or Governor Kemp or Michael Regan, who is the head of our EPA, or even President Biden, what would you like them to know about your community and why this is so important to stop this spread of biomass across the South?
Well, I'd like Governor Kemp to know here in Georgia that we want businesses. We are #1 for business for several reasons, because we kind of skirt whatever the guidelines or regulations, tax exemptions and things like that. But that we need businesses that build and not those that kill. That we do not have the Affordable Care Act here in Georgia. So most of our residents do not have healthcare. And if you do want to keep people on a job, we want clean jobs, not those that are going to kill the people who are actually working for the industry and those who are in the community where they can't even work. So that's a problem economically overall. It's that there are other opportunities. There's green energy. There's different things that can be brought in that will not cost us, because in the end, with the healthcare issues and the problems that people will have as a result, and the degradation of our forests, which it will generate more money when we use it recreationally, because that's what people like in the South, that it's natural and that you get to enjoy the environment, not taking those things away. So I think if they knew that and the overall cost, That's what they need to know. And there are people behind those dollar bills. There are people who are suffering, people who are struggling to survive. And we need help. We need regulations, the state and the federal level.
Does anyone else want to speak to that question?
As it relates, go ahead, President James.
I could just say, as the NAACP Special Law National, we are all on the one NAACP. You have your units and you have your state conference who got the units. But our national has adopted a resolution that calls on the EPA and the Biden administration to heed the warnings of the scientists when it comes to environmental issues. And so once we do that from a federal level and have stricter guidelines, I think that'll help us within all our states. But we still have to advocate what we have to do in our local states, state of Mississippi, and especially in our local communities.
All right. Similarly, somebody says, South Carolina has senators who will not work with the EPA. What do you suggest we do to keep more plants from coming here?
You know, it's sad to say this, but it has to get back to grassroots politics. And one of the things that Dr. King did so well in his quest for civil rights, one of the things that John Lewis did so well in his work, those that were truly successful, they got it on the record. Senators are elected for 6 years. So you've got to get them on the record. You got to get them on the record. And you have to ask them specifically on the record and press the issue. Because if they're not going to change their hearts and change their minds, you're going to have to use that to change the votes. Because you got to get them on the record. Now, Mississippi is an interesting state because we have a lot of people in Mississippi that consistently vote against their best interests. We received all of the monies from Katrina. We received monies from COVID relief. We refused the Medicaid expansion. We have $4 trillion in our state coffers from COVID relief that's sitting there, not being utilized. I use Mississippi as an example, looking at Tim Scott as one of your senators. That's understandable in South Carolina. But you have to get these senators on the record. Senator Tim Scott made a statement. He says, America is not a racist country. Well, America is not a racist country, but a lot of the people who are in leadership in America have practiced racism. And this is another practice of racism because you're not doing what's in the best interest of your constituents. So you're saying it's acceptable. It is acceptable. It's acceptable for some people to develop cancer, have breathing problems, and die prematurely as long as you can bring home the bacon. Is that your position? You've got to get those leaders on record, and it's not dirty politics, but you've got to use their own words on the record against them because that's all that they can stand on. Thank you.
All right, this will be our last question for the evening because I know we are at time, but this work can be very heavy and feel very heavy. So I invite all of you to answer this question. Where do you find hope in this work?
I find, this is Dr. Treva Gear out of Adel, Georgia. I find hope in the fact that there's a victory at the end, several small battles, few wins here, that there is victory in the process. We're able to liberate other people, educate them on the issues that are to come, and to help keep a wood pellet plant out of some other sister city, sister state. It doesn't matter. So it's a full process, and there's a lots of wins until we get to the end. There's a win at the end.
I find hope in our collective power. It's when groups like these come together, educate a community, inform that community can stand. And when, for an example, other people go back and take regular homes or regular cities like Dogwood, Stone County can still advocate, still fight against this pollution. That's my hope, that we educate people and people will move on the knowledge that they have, move on the representative, use our influence to change the mindset and open up the idea that this company that's proposed to come to Stone County, which we have done prior to them actually sealing the deal, that is bad for Stone County. That's my hope, that when people rally together and use our collective power to make changes in our city, in our community, and then change will come.
Ms. Ruth, Reverend Anton.
Yes, ma'am. Assata Shakur, who's a freedom fighter. A lot of quotes from her. One that sticks with me talks about the wall is nothing but a wall, is nothing at all, it can be broken down. But this one is more, this is what gives me hope. She said this, Sister Brown, she says, nobody in the world, nobody in history has ever gotten freedom by appealing to the moral sense of the people who were oppressing them. In other words, we've got to lose our mind. I get hope and I get excited when I know that there are people who are willing to lose their mind so that we can gain some sanity. It gives me hope. Thank you.
And I guess I get hope from the fact that I can see that even that what I'm doing, that there are others out there working, doing the same thing, and we can pull together. And even if it doesn't look like I got a win today, then I continue praying about it and talking with my fellow workers in this organization and other organizations that are fighting for the rights of people. And I stay on my knees about it. I get hope because I know that it may not look like I'm gonna win today, but I know that it's gonna happen. And I have a faith to know that as I continue to tell people about it, continue to work with people, that there is going to be a victory someday.
For me, I get hope from everybody that's here, all of the people who are present, the fact that we are states apart and we're here together on this, creating this movement for not just us and our communities, but for our people across the Southeast. And it's not just me in Greenwood, it's not just me in Mississippi, it's not just Dr. Treva in Adel, not just Miss Belinda in North Carolina, but this is the entire Southeast. And in the words of my wonderful friend Adel, the South has something to say. And I am empowered each and every day by all of you, because we continue to stand in this fight together, whether it be a call, a text message, whatever, we are here. And having these conversations collectively, co-creating, co-collaborating, and building something out that's bigger, better, and more beautiful than anybody has ever seen. The fact that they feel like These things are separate because we're in separate states. The ability that we have to bring each other together through what they've created, the awesome Zoom network. We are here, we are doing it. We're going to keep moving because it's not just about me, but it's about the we. And we collectively have something to say. We collectively are going to move this, and we're collectively going to dominate this fight. I appreciate each and every last one of you all for being with us tonight. Don't look for us next Thursday night. Come back to us on June 2nd, where we will be doing environmental racism and climate justice. June 2nd. Be with us. Same time. We look forward to seeing y'all. I love each and every last one of you. I mean it. Thank you all and have a good night.